Good evening. Wow, good evening. Yeah, good evening, viewers. My name is Namdi. I'm representing Greater Nigeria Television, and we believe strongly in the entity called Nigeria. We believe that our diversity should be a source of strength and not uh, conflicts the way we are seeing right now. So we've watched how the various influencers, leaders of thoughts, and groups the way they've been parading and sharing their thoughts. Some of them are professors, some of them are professionals, and they tend to have several followers. Now, these followers rely deeply on their opinion, and at the end of the day, we have been finding ourselves in the same cycle. So, a Greater Nigeria will believe that over time we have over relied on these leaders of thought. Some of their views need to be challenged, okay, and especially with superior argument. Some of them may be accepted, but we're not just saying go ahead and challenging everybody's opinion without looking at them objectively. So I personally have looked at all the shades of religions, all tribes in Nigeria. And I've seen that the nation called Nigeria is actually a balanced country. But just that the way we look at it, we look at things differently, and we need to pause and start looking at it a bit closer. I wouldn't want to challenge individuals, but let's look at a few cases where we had development, real development, okay? And one of them, you're free to challenge me though. One of them is in the case of when we had President Olusegun Obasanjo. Most people don't, or some people would like to say they don't agree with his views, but anyhow you look at it, you will get to know that he is a nation builder. He is truly deeply in love with the entity Nigeria. You may not agree with all his approach. You may not agree with his views, but he presents Nigeria better than the rest. He's non-tribal. He's not tribalistic. He's more nationalistic in nature. Now, I would like to point to some developmental index which Nigerians have been looking up to and have been missing the point each time we discuss national issues. One is very critical right now is job creation. President Olusegun Obasanjo was fortunate to be a military president at one point and a civilian president at another point. Now, in the area of job creation, I think he did a very fantastic job, which subsequent administration need to learn from. And unfortunately, they've not learned from his template. And so I would like to go straight to just one of them. Under his regime, if you could remember, those of you who could remember, we had this entity called NITEL. NITEL, people would like to say it was sold, but actually, they they passed a bill to revamp that sector, and the sector was now they sold GSM licenses to new entities like Econet and MTN back then. Recall that NITEL had some staff. NITEL was the only telecommunication company until that bill was passed and the rest. Okay. Now, when the license was sold to Econet and MTN, if you recall, we they employed staff, Nigerians, and some foreigners. They also, aside from that, they also uh, got subcontractors who helped them to lay their pipes, their cables here and there, their masts everywhere. These jobs were being created in trickles and gradually got to the point where they needed a lot of people to sell recharge card on the streets, using the canopy and things like that. If you remember that, so several jobs were being created. As we as it went on, uh, several other avenues came in. It has started selling mobile phones. Uh, as we speak right now, we have over 200 million phone lines, or about 200 million phone lines. You go to the NCC website, you see that. But prior to them, Nitel had 450,000 phone lines around Nigeria. Okay, so from 450,000 phone lines to close to 200 million or thereabouts phone lines. That is growth. Okay, now as we speak right now, we know, you and I know, that a lot of people are now selling recharge cards in one form or the other. Some sell it electronically, some sell it through recharge card. Now, how do, as we speak, the banks are also involved in the game of selling uh, airtime and data. Prior to the emergence of that policy, Nitel was the only one, and kept on paying for uh, services not rendered. So they'll bring the only functioning department there was their billing department. The billing department never fails, just like you have the current PHCN department that don't fail. Now the billing department will continue to send you bills even when you don't receive service. Okay. Now you have GSM operators scattered around Nigeria receiving uh, supporting services and spreading their network across the country. Inside that arrangement, you have subcontractors who employ other Nigerians. Now, leave that aside, go around all states in Nigeria. You have places like Computer Village where a concentration of youths, adults, and some other groups selling uh, recharge card, mobile phones, SIM card, fixing phones, softwares, different things in that small concentration. Now, you also have them along the streets. These are employments created. Whether you like it or not, all those credits should go to President Olusegun Obasanjo. Now, if you take the pain to take inventory of this number of jobs created, apart from the jobs created by the direct employment of the MTN, EcoNet, or now Airtel, Nine Mobile, and Glo, you will know that a lot of jobs were created. So when someone says, I want to create a million jobs or 2 million jobs, 3 million jobs. That's the kind of mindset you should be coming with, not giving handout to some people and call it job creation. That's not how to create jobs. As we speak right now, those jobs created by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is a sustainable template of job creation. So if we don't know, if our politicians don't know how to do it, they should go back to Otta and ask Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. He has a template. He knows how to do it. I can tell you for free, if the then National Assembly had supported Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, what you have in the power sector would have transition did not work as it should have. So I think if we go back to his templates, we can, for instance, have all the uh, recharge card form of vouchers to sell power. Those recharge cards will come in form of electronic, just the way you have in the bank for MTN, Glo, and Co. Recharge card. We should have different places where we can get meters. We don't need discos selling meters or giving people meters. Ordinary Nigerians can go get meters and sell, just the way we are selling mobile phones. Why do we need discos selling meters? And as if you deep down, if you investigate properly, you find out that these discos don't actually give these meters out to Nigerians for free. The way, despite the fact that they get a lot of funding from the government, most users right now who have these meters bought it by themselves. Only a few got it free in line with the government policy. So individuals on this, just the way we buy mobile phones, individuals should also go bring in these meters. All the discos need to do is to give us a connect that um, meter uh, to their power source, and that's all. So the meter should function just like your mobile phone. That is just it. And that's with that, you see that everybody will have meter. It's not this one that they are currently everywhere in scarcity of meter, and they keep selling it at the price that is above the ordinary man. So another route would have been for the government to, the government keeps saying they subsidize meter, and they give the money, they give the subsidies to the schools, and they will then say they are monitoring. I don't know who is monitoring that, but then if you go as an independent observer and then look through the process, you find out that nobody is actually getting those meters. They end up being sold to Nigerians, and it's very, very bad. So to cut that off, allow the ordinary vendors to go out, get these meters in the right standard down to Nigeria, and sell it to everyone. Let it be sold in the shops on the street, and you see that all Nigerians will have meter. Then the per second, per few, the normal billing will start. Now, aside from that, the process, if you notice, if you go back to Obasanjo's template using the GSM arrangement, you find out that at one stage, the Econet, the early journals as the Econet and MTN refused to migrate to per second billing. They had their reasons for it for that at that stage. But the introduction of Glo, the third carrier, then led to the crash of that monopoly, or that per minute billing which they were using then. So we then had per second billing. Now, Glo needed to survive. That's why they had to think out of the box and introduce per second billing. So they were able to penetrate the market using that strategy. Now, after a while, the fourth carrier was introduced. Now, the fourth carrier then was Etisalat, and Etisalat needed to stay afloat, so they needed to fight hard. And in fighting hard, they brought in some other kind of shades of competition into the market. You see a lot of freebies, free data, and the like. So the Nine Mobile, Etisalat is now known as Nine Mobile. But if you look at it, what he did practically is to bring healthy competition in the sector, and that is what brought the price down. That is what brought the today you can buy SIM card for almost free. But as at the time the the first two carriers started, they were selling. One of them was selling for going for 32,000, and the other was going for 22,000 per SIM. But today, SIMs are sold almost free. Okay, so competition is good. We need to introduce competition in the power sector for it to stand, for it to be sustainable. Now, how does that would that fly? The technical guys will tell you more, but then what that will mean is that the discos will be free to connect, get power from anywhere they want. Okay, the the you consumers will be free to port from one disco to another, from one disco to another. Now, what we are practicing is monopoly, and I tell you, it's common sense. Once you allow monopoly, they will just continue to increase tariff. Increase in tariff is the only solution to them now, because they are into monopoly. But as soon as you introduce competition, there will be a lot of healthy competition. No, a lot of freebies will come in. You will see this. The competition will lead to somewhere someone will say pay for 3 months and get 1 month free, things like that. Okay, and so many other shades of freebies will come to the consumers. That's why we need to go back. I said go back to Chief Obasanjo's template. Now, if you talk about civil servants will never understand what I just said now. They will always tell you that they want to follow the normal routine, which is what the NITEL did. NITEL was on that template, collecting subvention from government. Today, this Glo, Etisalat, Nine Mobile, MTN, and Airtel. They are not collecting any subvention from the government, but they are spreading, and we have more users. They are creating jobs every day, and spreading. Whether you like it or not, they are still creating jobs till now. Sustainable. That is what we should have in the power sector. Once we have that in the power sector, you will see that you will see that the power sector that you know today will be growing, and the number of megawatts that you will have will be more. Now, many states will subscribe to the IP, will become IP independent power producers, and they will have buyers to get, because uh, currently the arrangement is that the gencos generate the power, and they pass it through the grid, the national grid to the discos. Then from discos it will then go to the consumer. Now that process, and so that process is also a bit faulty, because the discos can also produce enough power, strong enough to carry to pump all the or evacuate all the power generated. So what happens? It means that we are wasting a lot of power. Now, can we unbundle that part? Is it possible for the discos or the gencos to to supply or bundle sell power to heavy users in an arrangement where, if the federal government still wants to retain the transmission side, okay, this transmission, such that it will be a win-win arrangement between the genco, the transmission, and disco, if that arrangement must be there, so that this excess capacity being generated but wasted can be used in factories, can be used in different forms. Now we have other power source like the solar, and the solar source, the wind. All these things are abundant. In Nigeria, we have so much sunlight. People are using it, but from what I see, the cost is very high. So the grid, the the on-grid arrangement still appears to be cheaper for the ordinary man. So what we need to do is introduce healthy competition. Look at areas to unbundle, just the way Obasanjo unbundled the telecoms business, and put in several healthy competition arrangement there to make it vibrant and allow people to come in. Now, that same arrangement is what we need in the petroleum industry. We don't need this monopoly that is not making, that's suffocating all of us. Become responsible for processing petroleum products. You see a lot of them in the Niger Delta region trying their hands on one thing or the other. Why can't we look for a way to assist them, okay, in such a way that their activities are regulated? Convert those things. These guys can, if we have a situation where an agreement where young Nigerians process things like grease and other smaller petroleum byproducts, and package them in using the legal backing to make sure that they are what they're doing is within the ambit of the law, and yet maintaining the generally accepted standard. Why not? Now, what I see happening there is a lot of creativity being killed, being buried, and those creativity can be converted to national assets, or national to add value to the nation and to our GDP. So that sector is another sector that I know, I am 100% sure, can create more than enough jobs, just like the telecoms did under Obasanjo's administration. Okay, so yes, you may not agree with me, but I'm telling you, this is how we should look at it. This is my opinion. You are free to challenge me, also, but I can tell you, you just need to give President Olusegun Obasanjo credit for that. And he created, through that singular initiative, he created many jobs. And those jobs are still sustainable to today. So I've been seeing subsequent administrations saying they want to create jobs, want to create jobs. And it's more like, oh, I want to. So I've been seeing subsequent administrations saying they want to create jobs, want to create jobs, and it's more like, oh, I want to punch, but you never punch. Okay, he started it and he ended it fine. If he had more time, he would have done similar in the power sector. He passed a lot of. You can go back and check the power sector reform bill when the National Assembly decided to pass it. Okay, back then, that was where we made the mistake. So I hear a lot of people blame him. But I laugh because they don't know. They know very little or nothing. Okay, they only want to be political about it. Now, another area you need to look at President Obasanjo is the area of projecting our national interest. Now, President Olusegun Obasanjo, uh, through his body language, through his style, his way of doing things, when he wants to promote any brand, he goes all out to promote them. For instance, you will recall that President Olusegun Obasanjo promoted the National Open University Initiative. Yes, that was a university, National Open University, or the initiative that came up to help support the universities, especially those who wanted to work and school. Okay, now most organizations were not recognizing that institution, and so they needed a brand, an ambassador like Obasanjo to step in, and it did. Can you imagine what that means? It meant that many people will endorse the university. Many organizations will embrace that university certificate. Many undergraduates or secondary school uh, students who graduated can just quickly pick up a phone and start up their course without waiting for the usual protocol. So he is a nation builder. And number two, number three, during Obasanjo's time, okay, you understand, you observe that they went abroad, got some Nigerians, smart Nigerians. So he did a lot of healthy recruitment, and this team of people came in here, and they were able to help us to structure our economy in such a way that we were able to repay most of our debt and got some debts write off. Our debts were written off, so we became less indebted. Now that is a very good one, unlike what we have recently. So I think with such a mindset, we have such strategies in place. We should be able to reduce our debt profile, and bounce back economically. Now, he did not stop there. Okay, they went ahead to structure uh, our budget system and revenue collection system. Now, they introduced the excess crude account arrangement. Now, what does that mean? It means that during the budget era or the budget session, if our budget is usually revolving around the expected inflow from oil, which is our main source of revenue. So when the number when they estimate the volume of oil the nation will sell in a particular year, and then they make an estimate of the international price of crude. So that period, then they'll multiply by the number of barrels of crude they estimate to sell. That will form our national revenue. Now, if they picked $20 per barrel as the price of international price of crude in that year, according to the budget for that year, and then in reality, they got to the market and found out that they were able to sell crude for $50 per barrel instead of $20 per barrel. The excess above $20 will be set aside as excess in an account known as excess crude account. And that was what part of what they used to stabilize the economy. And now, according to our laws, according to our laws, that that arrangement did not have a legal backing. Yes, because it's supposed to be the way our laws are structured is such that any money that comes needs to be shared between the states, federal, and local government. Okay, so it means that even the excess crude account ought to have been shared between the states, local government, and federal. But if they continue sharing that way, our economy will not be properly balanced. That is why they were smart. They did it that way. And the National Assembly then, probably because we were just coming to democracy then, they did not challenge it much. They understood and they reasoned together to understand, despite the fact that it was not, did not have legal backing. However, I understand that after the Obasanjo administration, we had Yaradua, then out of Jonathan came in. We attempted to the administration of Goodluck Jonathan attempted to legalize that or to give it a legal framework. That's what they when they brought in the sovereign wealth fund. Yeah, the sovereign wealth fund agreement was meant to help stabilize the economy. If you notice, during the Yaradua administration, that was when the global financial meltdown occurred. Nigeria was insulated because we had enough reserve. But now we don't have that much reserve because we have toyed with it. We did not accept the structure. The sovereign wealth fund arrangement was not fully um, uh, or is not properly managed the way it was supposed to be planned or whatever. We did not, as a country, I don't think we fully embraced it. Okay, but once we know as a people that we made a mistake some time back, what stops us from correcting it now? Okay, we can correct it now and move forward. The the sovereign wealth fund team, I think we had the former group managing director of GT Bank as one of the individuals that came up with that sovereign wealth fund arrangement. These are bright minds from Nigeria. Then go back and look at what they did and build on it. We need to stabilize the economy. Hardship in the country so much. The currency exchange rate is terrible, and we cannot continue like this. We just need to get smart people in there and get things done. This is why I personally wish uh, that President Olusegun Obasanjo uh, had enough time or was given enough cooperation to balance things while he was still president. It is hope that others can learn from him. It is hope that we go back and probably learn one or two things from his administration. It's not only to sit down and complain and condemn. I see a lot of comments and they don't want to get answer. He has a book. He has written a book. You can go back, buy that book, and because it's not easy to be a president in this country. I can tell you this. Even the manager of an office, they know what it is. Not talk of being a president. A lot of intrigues, a lot of angles come up each time you bring up a decision to be taken. So uh, that is what we have, and I think we can do better. We have a lot to learn from Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. From Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Thank you so much for your time. This is Greater Nigeria Television. Thank you.